Hi everyone, I'm Nic.
And I'm Lauren.
And in today's episode, it's a very interesting one because it's the first time we are collaborating.
Yep.
And we're going to be talking about our first property purchase.
Yeah.
So, Lauren, can you tell me more about what was your first property purchase?
Okay, so I think I started my property route pretty standard, like typical Singaporeans. I got a BTO with my husband. But the thing about this is that I only bought under his name. Okay, have you heard of this Occupier?
Owner Essential Occupier Scheme.
Yes, correct.
Ah,
So maybe just for context purpose, I was a mortgage banker previously.
okay.
Yeah. For when I bought my first property, I was in mortgage. I was a mortgage banker. I have already been exposed to the real estate market. So we kind of had a plan in mind already. So when we bought our first BTO, it was under my husband's name and I was the essential occupier. Having in mind that in future, after we hit the minimum occupation period NOP, one of us, probably me, the essential occupier, if we can afford, we would move on to buy a second property.
Oh, it sounds like not bad, huh? Then is there any like potential cons to doing this Owner Essential Occupier Scheme?
One thing is that only the owner can use the CPF
Oh,
for the purchase.
okay.
And then let's say, of course, in case of anything, the rightful owner, it is still my husband. So let's say if the essential occupier, what we actually fulfill is to form the family nucleus to be able to buy a BTO. Yeah. But then again, just to highlight, this is not illegal. This is very legal.
Sure.
Yeah, I still recall the HDB officer actually asking me, why do you want to be the essential occupier? Why don't you just be the owner? So if anything, you also have a share in the house. And this is very real.
Maybe you know something that the officer don't know lah. That's why you need to seek for your consultation then the loan also only your husband can serve, right?
Yes,
In a sense.
correct.
Okay. Then what made you all choose a BTO for the first property?
Well, to be honest, we were looking around. Okay, so we also explored EC. So during my time, that was around 2015, we were looking around the Punggol, Sengkang area. It was like the EC boom. So many ECs coming up then. Yeah, and as a mortgage banker, I also go down to the EC to do duties, right? Yeah, so I have seen a few and we did explore. It's just that the location-wise, it doesn't really suit what we are looking for.
Okay.
So my husband has been staying in the central area for the longest time and he wasn't very used to staying so far off, and both of us, we were also working in CBD. We did take that into consideration. Ultimately, we actually chose a BTO that is near to where his parents were staying. So we could potentially get help next time when we have kids.
Do you all have to wait very long for the BTO?
Wow, tell me about it. We actually applied for sales of balance.
Okay.
Okay, so I ask you, sales of balance, what comes into your mind?
Leftover units, or maybe people don't want, or lower floor units.
Okay, then how about like the waiting time?
Should be faster.
Should be faster.
Sometimes I hear like you can get the keys immediately, or then you can go to a unit. Right?
Yes. Okay, so some sales of balance, yes, is already built and you just choose the unit and you collect the keys.
Okay.
Yeah, but for our case, right, it was a sales of balance exercise. But we applied in 2015. I only got my keys in 2018 and I was already pregnant. Yeah, so over 3 years for a sales of balance, things changed. Our life have changed. We got married and I was expecting with my first child.
I see. That means when you all first applied the SPF, the BTO exercise for this estate just launched actually.
I would think so.
It should be 3 years is about the BTO waiting time.
Exactly. So it's as good as a normal waiting time.
I see.
Yeah.
So was it a 4 or 5 room?
It was a 4-room.
Oh, okay. But were you all happy with the decision and everything? Would you have done something differently?
Okay, at that point in time, it's not that we went straight into BTO. So we actually explored others. Of course, if we were to go into an EC or into a private first, it will take a lot on our finances.
Sure.
So BTO was really very, very straightforward for us. Both of us started working 3 to 5 years into our roles.
Okay.
And then we have CPF, and then cash-wise, probably not as much for us to really go into a good private condo. And we were not married. So I think it was because of that. We just thought that we have time, so we wait law. BTO definitely is to wait.
Okay. Were you all able to get more grants for the BTO?
No.
Okay.
No grants.
So it's just the BTO price lah.
Yeah.
I see.
Correct. But of course, if you ask me now, the 3 years wait, right, things have changed so much. Yeah, that I really thought that maybe it would have been better if we have made a decision to buy a resale condo or something else that we could have moved in immediately rather than waiting for that 3 years.
Oh, was it like your marriage and your pregnancy? Was it something out of like your prediction while waiting for the BTO?
Marriage, yes. Pregnancy, a bit fast. After we realized that actually that location is not very convenient for us to look after our kid. Yeah, it is not near MRT station. The location itself is centralized, but for us to travel to our respective
Workplace.
is not easy. But no choice, right? We are stuck for 5 years.
Yeah, lor.
Yeah.
3 years, then plus 5 more years.
8 years, lor.
I see.
Yeah.
Then after that, what do you all do with it?
You mean after what?
After MOP.
Then we sell lah. Okay, no lah. So I was mentioning that bought under one name, right?
Yeah, lor.
So straight away after MOP, I actually used my name to buy our first investment property. Immediately after MOP.
Okay.
Without selling the HDB.
Okay, so if I understand this right, means also only you can use your name for the loan and only you can finance using your CPF, right?
Yes.
Your husband cannot touch.
Cannot.
Wow, also quite strong like that. To buy a private on your own, like today's all the condos, the prices are so high. Not easy.
It's not easy, but I feel that 8 years is really a long period of time. And I think during that period, I was about 30-ish. So it was also kind of like a peak of your career.
Okay.
Excluding what I'm doing now lah. Okay, so our earnings were okay. And I mean, thankfully, I could still come out to buy a property of my own, which is in line with what we wanted right from the start.
I see.
Yeah. Just that the 5 years is really too long. I mean, looking at how the property market can run, right? Within a short 1 year or 2 years, you can see the prices going up by...
Yeah, but your BTO also appreciated in that sense.
Yes, you can say that. But BTO, how much can you appreciate it? It's always a cap there. And then, I mean, like, you know, like, if you know the market well enough, which I feel that very thankfully we are in this line, right? So we have been seeing markets, we have been looking at data. You know that holding a property for 5 years may not be as ideal comparing to you doing a correct swap at the correct time.
I see.
If you're talking about profits wise.
Sure.
But of course, for the BTO, I think the profits, I think it's decent. Yeah, which is one thing that I'm really thankful for our government for giving us a chance to get a BTO.
Because you're still eligible. Yeah, the waiting time a bit long, but at least there's still decent profits that allow you all to do this, right?
And I find that for many of my friends who also gotten BTO, it was a stepping stone actually for them to accumulate deposits or rather wealth, cash for them to move on to their next step if they are looking towards the property route.
I see. So you applied the SBM when you were around 30 years old. Did you mention that?
No, I applied when I was like maybe 26.
Oh, so because you were from mortgage banker, so you probably also know that even while you wait 8 years, it's still before age 35 lah. So you still can get max loan tenure if you want to when you buy private.
Correct.
I think that's something very important because if you were to go in BTO too late, let's say you go in at 30 years old, you wait for another 3-4 years, you wait for another 5 years, by the time you exit almost 38-40 years old, your loan tenure will be really shortened because our max age will be up to age 65 years old.
Correct.
So then you'll be compromised.
Correct.
I see. Then does it mean that you're still holding to your BTO now after you bought your investment property?
Okay, so after I bought my first investment property, of course, we have to relook at our finances again, right? Then when we reach a comfortable level, we started to look out again to find our own stay property. Like I've mentioned, the location for the BTO itself, it didn't really suit us. I mean, to be honest, a lot of people will think that, you know, this is our final home, we love it so much, we will not move, or they are just on the quest of finding this perfect home that they will be their forever home.
Yeah.
Sorry to burst your bubble, but most of the time, it will never be a forever home because life circumstances changes, priorities changes. I have kids, and then even let's say just a shift or change in your workplace can also affect, you know. Imagine commuting every day 1 hour to and fro 2 hours a day. It's a waste of time. So after that, we are very clear of what we want. We were looking for our own stay property. Then ultimately, 1 year after I bought my investment property, we did not follow through the plan of holding on the HDB and a private. We ultimately sold it off, and my husband went on to buy another own stay property.
I see. So actually, would you say then probably you could have just buy normal like 2 owners into a BTO, then 5 years you sell?
Yeah, actually can. I find that what we are doing now, we are not trying to like game the system or anything. We just want to give ourselves options. Yeah. Because, like, I think prior to our time, they allow decoupling for HDB.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Last
then,
time.
Yes. Then after that, they clamp it down and say you can't decouple for HDB. For me, I still think that I'm very thankful that because I was exposed to the industry earlier. So I do know that people are doing that and then it can be done this way. And if you plan earlier and you're very clear of your long-term goal, then it could be done this way lah. That's why we chose to do it that way. So of course, if both of us go in and become owners, we could have gotten perhaps a better location, a bigger 5-room somewhere else.
Okay.
Yeah, because of a combined income, right? They recognize both income and then we can use both of our CPF. We could have done that lah, but then ultimately after weighing our options, we find that it may still be what we want to go for one owner first, to open up the option for us to have one person buying another property. I mean, it did cross my mind that we could have just hold on to a HDB and a private, but then ultimately things change.
Because own stay, you prefer to stay in a private.
Yes.
Maybe for family needs lah, is it?
And location.
Right.
Yeah, so things change lah.
I see. Okay, so you sold off the HDB already lah.
So off then he can buy ma, if not ABSD
True. Important. At least you cash out the profits lah for the BTO.
Correct. So that's also one thing. We cash out the profits and then it helps us elevate to our next bigger property for own stay.
But right now there will be just your husband's name to buy because your name is used already, right?
So now, as of today, both of us own one property each. Which is still in line with what we want.
That's true. Just that two private property, right? Not one HDB, one private, 2 private property. So this one 厉害, must learn from Lauren.
Just plan in advance. 你们也行的.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool, thanks for sharing. Okay, now I guess it's my turn.
Yeah. Okay, so Nic, you are very different from me.
Yes.
Okay, so unlike normal Singaporeans who go for BTO or resale HDB, you went straight to private property as your first property.
Yeah.
And at the point in time, you were single?
Yes, I was single.
Okay.
I was 29 years old, single, and I wanted to buy a property. Then I realized that, I'm single, so honestly, my options were quite limited.
Yeah.
I couldn't buy a resale HDB. I cannot get a BTO. It's really just private property, whether is it a resale private or new launch.
You were 29, then why do you even thought of buying a property?
So I started my real estate career when I was 25, even before I graduated from university. Yeah.
So wait, how did that happen? Even before you graduated from?
So after year 3, okay, some interesting story. After year 3, so in NUS, I did economics in NUS. Then I danced a lot as my CCA.
Wow, oh yeah.
Yeah, I danced a lot. Then one time, there was one specific lunch I had with my course mates nearing to the June holidays really. So it was during the semester end term. And then I realized that, wow, all my course mates have already done all the bank's internship lah, or maybe government internship, like really high flying internships. Then I look at myself, oh no, I don't have I think at most I did was a startup internship and it wasn't that great on the resume lah. So I realized, I need to do something different. If not, I probably can't get a good job after graduation or even a job to begin with. So then I thought to myself, okay, maybe I should try sales. And then I thought, okay, let me try real estate in this aspect. So then I took up the course during June holidays. I did the express one.
Wow.
In 2 weeks, I finished the whole course, studied like crazy. Then that November, I passed in one try because at that time my brain's still quite okay.
Congrats.
Can study. Yeah, if not now, probably
it's so difficult to pass now. Yeah, I think they have raised the bar by quite a bit, which I think they should.
They should, to keep the quality of the salespeople to be there.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it's good. And I think there is a bell curve but they never announced. Anyway, that's beside the point. So after I gotten it, 1st January 2017, before I started semester 2 of my curriculum, then I started doing RE also. So that was the last semester of my uni term. Then I did together.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing. I don't know how you do it.
I still remember the first new launch I did was Clement Canopy. So that was launched 2017 February. After my class in U-Town, I crossed from U-Town to Clementi to the show flat. Avenue 1, beside NUS High School. I still carry my backpack, then go there, wear my lanyard, enter show flat, and then try to get LOA and check from people. Yeah.
But is that how it works last time? Go to the show flat?
Go to show flat.
Yes, people will just go, right?
So you self walk in, but walk in may or may not come lah. So in the end, I also spent a lot of nights door knocking the HDB estates. 自己去leh, you know. So because back then really young ma, you have no leads. All your friends are very young. Most people, if they are in a stable relationship, they go for BTO like Lauren. Then it's really very difficult. So I have to chiong lah. Yeah, so that's how my career started lor. And I've seen a lot of people who bought new launches or even resale condos and make good money. That's why I wanted to kickstart my home purchase journey.
Yeah, actually I do agree. If you are exposed to this and you have seen how people did it, right? Somehow or another you will also want to like follow their footsteps.
Yeah.
Because you have seen successful cases. And generally in Singapore, I feel property is really one of the safest assets wise lah. But of course, it is just one small part of our whole wealth portfolio. Or maybe it depends on how heavy weighted you want to place your wealth in assets. Okay, so after that you have seen it and then you feel very motivated and inspired. So you also feel that this is the way to go.
Correct. So I bopian only resale or new launch, right? Then for me, another huge thing that I really want to take action, right, was that because Clement Kenobi was my very first project. I don't know about you, but do you remember your very first project that
Yes,
you market?
I do.
So Clement Kenobi, I still remember the indicative pricing. 2-bedroom started for 800 plus K in Clementi.
Which year was that?
2017.
Okay,
Then
okay.
I don't know to all everybody, they say, wow, siao ah, so expensive ah. But back then, their HDB also quite expensive really. So probably a 4 or 5 room, maybe able to swap to a 2-bedroom in Clement Kenobi lah.
Yeah.
But I didn't know like the magnitude of how 800 plus K, was it expensive, was it cheap, because I just started out, right? But as you continue your career, and by the time when I was ready to buy, the 2-bedroom in the end I bought was 1.32 million.
In Normanton Park. Okay.
From 800 plus K to 1.32. Of course, some will argue Normanton, RCR, different price point. But in the end, right now in today's market, you look at Clairvaux, you look at Normanton Park. Actually, Clairvaux prices are also very competitive. So I would say about the same apple to apple. So for 800 plus K can go to 1.32 for new launch. Well, I tell you, if I don't take action that year, probably I'll be super priced out.
Exactly. Exactly. Price out is the word that you don't really want to face, but then it's really happening. So Nick, you were saying that when was the Clement Canopy?
2017 February.
And when did you buy Normanton Park?
2021 February or January.
So it's about 3 to 4 years time.
3 to 4 years.
Jump from 800 plus to 1.2.
4 years, 4 years time.
That's
4 years time for me
150%
to
jump.
earn some money, because my first 2 years in real estate really was struggling. Really difficult to really hustle. So it took some time lah. But by the time I was ready to get some cash, I knew I had to take action. If not, really priced out. Because today, even you want to buy a 2-bedroom, maybe 1.6 plus million. Bloomsbury, for example, or even Sora is 1.6 plus million.
You can't find any.
Then why I didn't choose a resale property was because I knew that I didn't need to move out immediately.
Because you are still staying with your parents.
Correct. And then I also see that the trajectory for new launches were much better because of things like developer pricing strategy, things like that. And that's why being the first owner is safer and there's more potential for growth lah.
Yeah.
And that's why.
That's the thing I like about our industry, because we see it so clearly. After a while, for my next 2 properties, just to highlight, is that both are also new launches. Yeah. And then some of my friends, they're asking me, why are you so confident? Why do you only look at new launches? But it's just so clear to us how it's going to move. But of course, we don't have a crystal ball and we are not able to just say that 包赚, 100% 赚, that kind of thing. But we can just see that it is very safe.
Yeah.
If you choose the correct one, right?
It's true. Because a lot of people will be saying, hey, new launch also the high keep going higher leh. How sure are you that you will still make money? It's record high in the area already. Even the resale is so much cheaper. Why do you still want to go for a new? But yeah, as we mentioned, there are things like developer pricing strategy. There are things like gap between new and resale. If the gap is close enough, then honestly new is much safer lah. So yeah, that's why I chose Normanton Park in the end. Because after all, Normanton was quite far from where my parents stay, which is in Hougang.
Okay, but you already have the mindset to treat this as an investment only.
Not really. So it's both an investment and an own stay. Then I really like Normanton location because I knew eventually, because of industry, we will drive. And it's beside the highway. And I was really sian of my parents' place, where before I want to hit to CT, the highway, right? From my parents' place to the highway is easily like a 8 to 10 minutes drive because of the traffic light. So on good days, maybe 8 minutes. On bad days, maybe 12 minutes, just because the red light. So I told myself, okay, I want to save more fuel, I want to save more time. Beside highway would be very good.
I see.
So Normanton Park lor.
Then after that, did you move in?
Yes, I moved in. So
Oh yeah.
I moved in, just so happened I bought as a single. Then I took the 3 years when developer built, right? I also go and find my partner. So met my current wife. Tato just nice proposed. And we got married on the year where we collected keys, so it became our matrimonial home.
Oh, that's so sweet. I mean, the timing is just nice, right?
Right. Because I bought a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, the size was quite decent, 764 square feet for 2 people, and now we have a small puppy, just nice. The size is just nice. Yeah, so very thankful for that. I mean, when I made the purchase, I did think about future planning.
Right.
That if really I need to settle down, even if we do have a child, a baby, I know that the infant will usually sleep with the parents
Yes.
during the first 2 years.
Correct.
So the master could accommodate that and we still got a spare bedroom. So the 2-bed, 2-bath was quite a no-brainer.
Actually, I gotta say that your planning is very good coming from someone who has kids now, right? Because I recall your 2-bed, 2-bath, the kitchen has window,
Yes.
so there's ventilation. It is very okay for small families staying there. And then your toilets, all that, I mean, it's just very livable. It is not just investment property for people to go for rental. Even for own stay, it can be pretty comfortable with one kid, a small family.
Yeah, that was what we had in mind. And also because I wanted to buy something of more rarity, because there's so many 2-bedrooms, there's like 500 over units of 2-bedroom in Normanton. How do you choose a layout where it's easier for you to exit next time? More for own stay buyers. So that's why we chose this stuff. But we chose it at a premium. So I also discussed this in a previous video where like the gap between my unit and a smaller 2-bed, 2-bath, granted they don't have all your windows in the kitchen and the bathrooms, but their price point was only 1.1 plus.
Correct.
And mine was 1.32. 200k gap.
That's why the purpose and the intention comes to play. So of course, as much as possible, when we buy a property, we want it like both ways. Can be for investment, can be for own stay.
Right.
But as long as there's this own stay thing that come into play, you would want something that is more premium already.
Yeah, I mean, I have no strong regrets of buying this because for own stay, really very comfortable. The windows in the kitchen and the bathroom gives you the cross ventilation.
Yep.
We save a lot of electricity. Usually our bills are like $70, $80 per month only. Really. Then most of the time, except now really very hot. Usually we don't sleep with aircon. And usually I like to be under the blanket. And I'm still under the blanket with the ceiling fan on. That's the good thing about high floor unblocked with the cross ventilation. But because I bought a 200k premium, honestly, when I compare the transactions for the smaller 2-bed, 2-bath, they perform better in terms of profitability. Because their gains were higher. They bought 1.1 plus. Highest I think was 1.4 million transacted. So that's about like 200 plus, almost 300k profit. Whereas for me, when I exited recently, I only earned about 200 plus k gross.
Do you think that the location itself plays a part? Because for that location, maybe it is more for people who are working around there or more for investments rather than own stay.
Yes. So I also realized that the struggle for Normanton is that for 2-bedroom, more people who want to buy a 2-bedroom, let's say you are buying for own stay, if you don't drive, really very difficult. Even though the price is relatively cheap compared to, let's say, Sterling Residence or even Clementi or Clavon, your Park Clementis, is very, very compelling. But because in the nearby, really nothing, really no amenities, that's why it's so cheap. But if you don't drive, you really cannot accept. So that was the difficult part in finding the supply of buyers. But I think the 3-bedroom and above is easier because families tend to drive. So if you have a car and you want to find something cheaper, then Normanton Park proves to be really, really good for value.
Is there a shuttle bus?
Yes, to Cambridge MRT.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I recall I'm always driving along that road and then the first thing I see is the Normanton Park is so huge, right?
Yes.
And then recently with all the new launches around One North, I have been around that area more. I realized actually there is this part of Normanton Park that's quite near to all the offices.
Yeah, Science Park.
Science
Park area.
Okay.
Where a lot of your government agencies, I think, like MINDEF related one. There's Shopee, there's also there. Yeah, then now there's a Genio up and coming, a lot of F&B, but a bit far to be frank. From Normanton, you want to walk until Cambridge MRT, that's about 15 to 17 minutes walk. So that part is the main struggle.
I see. Okay, so you were actually staying inside.
Yeah.
Then why would you want to sell it? What makes you want to sell and move on?
So I actually had no strong push factor to really sell. But after coming to Promnex, new agency, then under our new boss, you need to keep thinking about your future, right?
Yes.
So I realized that, I also realized that the transactions wise at TOP, the price was really good. But then the price started to drop a bit. Because
The trend.
correct, that's the trend. My lower floor neighbor, same stack, they were able to sell I think 1.56 million. So I eventually sold at 1.548. I realized that I struggled a bit in terms of putting my asking price at 1.58. There were not many buyers coming in. Then I realized, wow, sell out already.
Your downstairs neighbor actually sold upon TOP.
Yes.
And how far away were you from TOP?
And I started marketing, it was about 1 year after TOP. Yeah. So I stay 19th floor. The transaction I think was around 12th floor or 11th floor. So almost like 8 stories difference, but they sold higher. Then I realized that I really need to exit to really lock in the profits.
Yes.
And usually the growth trajectory kind of slow down after TOP. Because it really boils down to market condition, whether or not the price going to grow, unless there is future transformation in the area that sure. So I realized that okay, I need to take profit and then move on to the next thing while I can, because my age is also growing, right? And if I don't move now, maybe I won't be able to get the loan tenure that I need.
How old are you now?
33. So I can do one more cycle with my max loan tenure for now.
Okay. So what is your wife's role, or rather her thought on this whole property journey? Because you bought it when you were single, then now both of you together, and now even to sell off your so-called matrimonial home to move on to the next one, which I believe is also a new launch.
Yes.
Right.
So a new launch.
Yeah, you shared in your video, correct?
Yeah.
So what's her thought like? Because you will have to rent somewhere.
Yes.
So it's like moving away from your matrimonial home that's so cozy, right? And then you have to rent somewhere while taking on a bigger unit.
Yeah. So thankfully, she is quite on board. Like, she just trusts me. She never really think very hard about this. Of course, there's a lot of sentimental value. It's our first home. It's where we brought back our first dog and so many first milestones, right? But then I explained to her that I think we really need to do this and it's for our future, it's for our family. And she understood that. So thankfully, she's quite on board with this. And she just said she trusts me. If I feel that this is a right move to do, then let's do it. Yeah, so heng, I married the right wife. See, guys, must really find the right wife. Buy house really, then go and find the right wife, then 就可以了.
Also find the right husband. My husband also believe in property, so we are quite aligned. Because I find that sometimes if they don't really understand how it works and they're so close, they don't want to open to understanding. It's very hard for me to explain, but thankfully he also feel that this is a good way to build our assets, especially for our age also.
Yeah, I agree, because if you all have differing views, then really very difficult to move forward, because how do you reconcile? I think someone will be unhappy and then you don't want to strain your relationship as a couple.
Yeah. And I find that, I'm sure you have clients like that. They just, husband and wife, maybe wife wants to sell, see the friends progress from a HDB to a condo, then to a bigger condo. Like, how do they do it, right? We all started on the same path, BTO. And then the husband is like, no, why would I want to take on more loan? Our house is fully paid soon and then I can retire and all that. We always hear this kind of
thing. It's true. But our spouse all supportive.
But I guess it's a right move. I think it's a right move because you cash out. Money stuck inside is just stuck inside. Why? If you don't cash out from the property. It's just like a BTO in, for example, Pongo. Now, how much are they getting already? I get it that it is a very nice location and some of the clients, they just really love it. But if they are clear that the money stuck inside, right, regardless, 800k, 1 million, it is still stuck inside.
Yeah, I agree.
So these are things that you have to look past. And I'm glad that your wife and you are very aligned in this. Okay, so one last question to you. What is your advice to singles? Should they consider entering the market solo if they can right now?
So right now, there's a lot of fear in the market with all the US tariffs and stuff.
Yeah.
I think if it's someone around my age or 29 years old, when I need to redo everything and it's current market, right? If you are able to go alone and purchase this, I strongly advise. And I still think there is opportunities in the new launch market, especially if you don't need to move out fast. If you need to move out fast, then I suggest still go for the new one, because developer now is super fearful. You can check out our previous videos about this. Buy something that really can get you the best earnings potential, then rent somewhere. Because right now, rental really, superb, guys. It's a tenant market. You have so many options, so many new condos where if you don't mind slight inconvenience, the landlord really a lot of desperate ones. Then that's where you can really get good value rental properties you rent cheap,
Yeah.
and then your money is in something that is a high
Working harder.
for you.
Yeah. The reason why I ask this is that I realized that coming on board into this industry, right, especially the recent years, I'm seeing a lot more young people entering into buying assets. Even when they are single, not married, very young. But okay earner lah, yeah. They are very daring already. I'm not sure is it because like they are well read, like they have the knowledge of the market and all that. But to be honest, I'm very heartened to see this lah. I feel that if I were in their shoes maybe 10 years back, I would probably want to do this also just to kickstart this whole property journey. Because if you plan ahead and you have enough time, right, there are really so many things that you can do to swap and make your money work harder for you rather than putting it in a bank account. Yeah.
Because our income also cannot really climb so fast. Especially if you're in a corporate job, your increment, will be around there, then it's very hard for you to break through this lah.
I mean, if you really enter at the right time and you exit at the correct time, correct development, correct property, the amount of profits that we see within a short span of like 3-4 years, it is 300,000, 400,000, $500,000.
Yeah.
So we always take this and we compare to our current job. This is a lot of money.
Yeah.
Unless you are doing something that can earn you so much. In a normal career, we don't see this kind of amount in bulk. And only with all this, right, it gives you confidence to go into another round of property purchase. Because property purchase, you need to do a down payment. The down payment is usually that kind of like, people usually like, so much, I cannot, it's okay, yeah, we go BTO. Yeah.
And usually the first property is the one that you feel the most strong.
Correct.
Because it's the one that you really need to wipe out.
Yeah, you wipe out really wipe out.
The first one, then maybe I got some proceeds from the first property. I don't need to top up so much. They can go for second property. So the first one is always the hardest.
Yes. I mean, but after that, if you get the sense of it and the clarity of it, it's not that difficult already. That's why you can always see people moving like from one property to another, upgrading. Yeah, whereas some people, they're just stuck because they haven't even taken the first step to sell their property to take the profits out.
Yeah, true.
Okay.
So I think we've come to the end of today's video where both Lauren and I talked about our first property purchase. Please stay tuned to our next video where we talk about what we are currently owning after this first property. So if you like this kind of content, please consider subscribe our channels and we'll see you in the next one.